Nice to see you all. Thank you for coming. My name's Dick Huey. I'm a Music Oregon board member, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight. And just a couple things to start with before I introduce our moderator. The first thing is, for those of you who are confused or curious about what's going on with Music Oregon and with Music Portland, please go to our website. That's also the best place to sign up for our mailing list. We're doing regular mailings and explaining what's happening each month. We have a lot of exciting things coming up. So please take the opportunity there. We've had a couple people ask, what about the contributions that I used to give to Music Portland? Be patient. There will be some opportunities as we go along here, but we're sort of in the process of restructuring at the moment, and we'll talk about that in the newsletter. So without further ado, well, actually, any questions before I start? Great. Let me introduce our moderator. So, and apologies for reading this, but I don't have it memorized. Missy Hastings Baker is a working... Yes, clapping is appropriate. So Missy is a working musician with the Roots Americana trio Mojo Holler. Many of us have seen her. Her nonprofit career is a blend of leadership and service, spanning years of serving organizations in board governance, strategic fundraising, program management, and grant administration. In 2021, she joined Music Portland to manage its operations and then transitioned to its board of directors. She joined Music Oregon in 2025 to manage its grant program, the Echo Fund, and became administrator in 2026. Her band performs 50-plus shows in wineries, breweries, and festivals throughout Oregon and Washington. Missy Hastings.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dick. Dick, did you let them know that you're on our board?
I did.
Okay, great. Well, it's good to have you here. All right, I'm going to start by asking our panelists to come up, and then I'll do some illustrious introductions. How many people are here because you work in the music realm, in the music industry? How many people are here because you're a fan of music or a fan of people? Yep, me too. Nice. I want to point out in the back of the room, we have a table back there, and this is a really amazing organization. Tommy, you and Nancy stand up. So Tommy and Nancy are with a beautiful organization called Swan Songs PDX. And Swan Songs has a mission to serve people in giving them their last or late wishes in life when sometimes people have a terminal illness and they would like to be involved and have a concert at the end of life. And I would encourage you to go by and visit their table because the mission is really beautiful. And the organization started in Austin, where I came from, and it's really big there, and we're growing it here. My band has done a fundraising show for this organization, and if you're a musician who would like to be a part of it, you can go to their website and sign up. And different people have different desires for music and different genres. So feel free to go over and sign up because you never know. And it could be that somebody wants to hear metal, Lisa. Exactly. I'm sure it does. All right. We have brochures. Thank you, Dick, for letting people know about Music Oregon and Music Portland. We would love for you to sign up for the newsletter. That is the best way to keep up with what's going on right now, and there's a lot. We have somebody really important tonight, Sherry Jameson. You can stand up if you want and give him a big wave. Sherry serves on our Music Policy Council. She also does all kinds of work to help support our mission. Sherry, you've been involved in this. I'm going to be reading some statistics from the year that you and I met when we helped with the census to determine what kind of impact the music industry was making in the state, and you were very instrumental in that. But Sherry is a prime example of someone who gives of her treasure and time to our organization because she really believes in it. You're also an opera singer, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, if you have something that you'd like to give to the organization in terms of maybe you have a talent that you think would be helpful, we have one employee, and she works just a few hours a week, and it's me. So we have a volunteer board, and we would love to have you get involved. So feel free to kind of reach out to me and let me know if there's something you'd like to do to help. All right, well, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panel tonight. Every single one of us has a cough drop in our mouth because there's pollen floating around out there. So I'm going to start, and we're going to go in alphabetical order. So on the far end of the stage is the beautiful Charity Montez. Charity Montez is a musician, and she is the director of the City of Portland's Art and Culture Office. And for 15 years, I love this in your bio. I'm going to just put on my glasses so I can read. For about 15 years during her free time, she performed in, produced, or promoted shows in small to mid-sized venues across Portland with a special focus on jazz, Brazilian, and Mexican folk music. She grew up in Portland. I just learned that you were actually born in Salem, but you got here as soon as you could. And then so you've been with the City of Portland since 2010. Prior to the pandemic, you were leading the Parks and Rec Summer Free-for-All programs. And that's free lunch and play, the concerts, movies in the park. So all of us have kind of experienced your work in that way. And then you transitioned over to director of the Office of Arts and Culture, and that was in 2024. And we deeply appreciate all the work you do there. So thank you for being here, Charity. Next, we have the legend, Lisa Mann. Lisa Mann. Lisa is a Blues Music Award-winning bass player, singer-songwriter, and self-producing recording artist. She is a person that we all look up to in the independent band scene because you've really done so much to kind of pave the way and teach us all how to traverse this weird independent music scene. So thank you. She's toured the U.S. and Europe to support her albums, which have charted the Living Blues and the Billboard charts. She's part of the Northwest Women Rhythm and Blues Review, which is led by another legend, guitarist Sonny Hess, known for their annual Christmas concerts helping kids with cancer and women escaping domestic abuse. She has an alter ego, this is so cool, called White Crone. And she writes and has released a critically acclaimed traditional heavy metal album in 2020 called The Poisoner. She also sang lead vocals with, I know. I'm looking forward to your contribution to this panel. It's going to be really great. She also sang lead vocals with power metal band Splintered Throne and co-wrote and co-produced their 2022 album, The Greater Good of Man. So welcome, Lisa Mann. Next, we have another legend. Everybody up here is kind of legendary in this town. Marcia Hawker is here. She is many of you know her in various capacities here in Portland. Marcia and I both serve on the board of Siren Nation. And just 2 days ago, I can't believe you're here, because 2 days ago, she not only performed it, but she curated the Billie Holiday tribute concert at Alberta Rose Theater. I've heard nothing but great things about it, Marcia. But Marcia is a native New Yorker who, with her husband, George, has made her home in Oregon for the past 25 years. She served overseas with him in the American Diplomatic Corps for 6 years. She spent 8.5 years as a pastor's wife. And as a pastor's daughter, I can tell you, being a pastor's wife is a big deal. It's a lot of work. She is a soloist, a drama teacher. She is a volunteer radio host for KMHD Jazz Radio. That's been for 11 years. 4 years, she was the liaison for all 63 DJs. She is a volunteer jazz radio host for KBOO, and you've probably heard her. And she's the vice president of the Montevilla Jazz Festival Board. And last but not least, I have to share this one little thing, and then later, Marcia, I want you to share more about it. But in 1974, she won the cherished New York City Miss Subways contest. And she's on the cover of the 2013 book, Meet Miss Subways. And Marcia, when it's your turn, please tell us a little more about how that was a unique competition for women. And but you didn't have to wear a bathing suit for that. But you were absolutely beautiful. And in 1974, you were like 3 years old. So it's amazing that you won that concert for women. Glad to have you. Last but not least, we have my dear friend and the legendary Renee Muscus. So Renee, yes. Renee is a guitarist, a singer, a songwriter who calls her music bleeding heart alt pop. Often, and it's true, often conjuring images of scenic coastal Oregon while intimately exploring justice, climate change, mental health, and queer life. And you may know Renee from the band Major Tomboys, which is an all-femme tribute band to David Bowie. She has just started a new group, and she's going to be joining our Siren Nation Dolly Parton hoot with the Stone Phonies, which is a trio that features songs from the Stone Ponies, but Emmylou Harris, Dolly Parton, and Linda Ronstadt. And you are Linda Ronstadt. Sure. So she has, I want to just give a little bit more of your professional life and then we'll move forward. But Renee has campaigned against Live Nation's venue in Portland. She's been a member of the Music Advocacy Council. She serves as an advisory board member for Portland Community College's Music and Sonic Arts program. And she's now the founder of Night Owl, which is a monthly, how many people have been to a Night Owl meeting? They're really awesome, right? A monthly solutions-focused women and gender-diverse music industry gathering held every second Tuesday at our beloved Artichoke. And last but not least, she has served as the former director of operations for Music Oregon, and we have been working together on and off in this effort with Music Portland for a long time. So what I'd love to do is get the panel started and remind you as we're moving along that we're going to have Q&A at the end of this. So maybe you already have some questions that you'd like to ask, or maybe there's a nuance that you want to bring up coming from your perspective. Have it ready because we'll have plenty of time for that. But I'd like to start by inviting the panel, and you have some microphones. I'll get them for you so that you don't have to get up. But share the mic, and we'll start with Charity. And the first question would be, let's look back over the last, say, 20 years, and let's talk about what progress women have seen, if there has been any, in the music industry. What kind of progress has been made? And has there been progress? Has there been regression? Let's share. Charity.
The first thing I think of is that when I was a young person, I was a bass player, and everybody asked me if I was a flute player, a clarinet player, or a singer in the band. And it was like impossible to imagine that I could be in the rhythm section. I'm not a bass player anymore. I'm primarily a percussionist, so I've stayed in the rhythm section. And I am so excited to see, like, I watched like one of the late shows, and half the rhythm section is women. And I was like, yes, that is so exciting and not anything that I saw when I was younger. I'll hand it to this amazing bass player.
More bass players everywhere. So we're just passing it down. There's more visibility. There's more women out there than there were 20 years ago, more role models. And I think that's also something that's very genre specific. Like you see the rise of a lot of country artists and pop artists, especially, that have a lot more visibility and a lot more pull for fill in a house. But there are some things that have not changed.
Like,
Oh, I could go on. We'll probably talk about it. Well, it's just, radio play. And what I'll probably end up talking about, because it's always on my mind, is the relationship between the lack of radio play and the lack of festival bookings and the lack of, tour bookings for women, and how those two are kind of a negative feedback loop.
thank you. Marcia?
Well, my two colleagues have just said basically what I was thinking. And also with the visibility, it seems to be a little easier around vocalists for them to be the choice. And oftentimes it seems like they're at the top of the list because it's a challenge for some folks to think about us being musicians and being accomplished musicians, composers and arrangers. So, I think the door opens frequently and widely for those who are vocalists. And they need to level the playing field on that.
I think this was a hard one for me. I was like, I'm not going to look this up. I'm not going to look up, I wasn't going to research it. I was like, I'm going to just go with like what I know and what I've like learned as myself, and also just through doing Night Owl and stuff like that. I think what does come to mind are two things, I guess. I think that the progress is extremely slow and sometimes backslides. That's what I can say. I feel like in some ways, and I hate to look to like the big, huge, like I'm starting to call them the 1% musicians, but the ones that are like the big pop stars and stuff like that. But I guess that they do, they are the most visible. And so I think about like aesthetic a little bit, that I don't think women are as expected to like show up in a bathing suit for things, for instance. Like when I think about like Billie Eilish, who completely bucked the trend for pop stars and wears like baggy clothing and whatever she wants, and she's queer, and she's just completely not like the mainstream pop star that we've been used to seeing. So that was really refreshing to see her come out and do that. So I think that there's like there's more celebration of there's more of like a celebrating different styles for women, and not just like the one like very femme demure type of women, like, or the over-sexualized. So not to say, I wouldn't say for a second that women aren't expected to wear makeup at a lot of gigs still. Like I think it's very, there's a lot of pressure for that. And I've, but yeah, so that's one thing I guess I would say I kind of feel like has changed a little bit. And then maybe a little bit of like, I've read more interviews that are more focused on the life and the talent and the work that women are doing. So writing, I think, is a little bit better than it was. So that people aren't just asked about their relationship, or something like that. So that was something, there's a lot more to say, but I do think the progress is very slow, and that it's very, it's painful how slow it is, so.
Well, and it co-occurs with a big change in the way that we listen to music. Lisa brought up radio play. And, radio play for all musicians has changed so much with streaming. To the point about visibility, I remembered looking up some statistics in preparation for this. And when a woman reaches the age of 54, which I know you're not going to believe this, but I'm way beyond that, the visibility drops 47%. That's based on a UK study in 2023, but there's a lot of statistic gathering that goes on about what happens to women in particular as they begin to age, and some of the stuff that you talked about, which is the need to be perceived as sexual, can really have an impact on whether somebody will even, stop when they're scrolling through to see who you are. Another thing is that, and I'd love for you all to talk about this if you've experienced it, but the need for caregiving. There's also the Music Oregon participated in Business Oregon and PSU and others developing some real statistics about the economic impact of music in the state. And the results were really great in some ways. $3.8 billion is contributed through venues like this and through the work and labor of the music industry. But what you find when you begin to dig into those statistics, right, Sherry, is that when you look at women's participation, there are slight gains that are taking place in terms of women being able to get work, but not in the areas of sound tech, for example. Like we even have a lower percentage than the national average of women who are involved in that particular type of work. Renee, you could speak to that.
Yeah, the Women's Audio Mission says that only that women and trans people and non-binary people make up less than 5% of the audio industry today. So, considering we're over half of the population, that's abysmal. So.
Yeah, so I'd love for us to talk a little bit too about the fact that women in Oregon report that they have a 30% higher rent burden. So that was an interesting statistic that stuck out to me. Is that if you're a woman in the music industry, the chances of you paying at least, this is the statistic, 30% higher than others in your rent. Another thing is caregiving. Women tend to have a greater cost for caregiving, not just for children, but for aging parents. So maybe we pass it back down, and we could start at the very end if you'd like, and just give us some of your thoughts about that. I think you two, yeah.
You meant this way?
Yeah.
I think about this a lot. I do not have children. And I think that it has allowed me to play music for most of my life. And I can't imagine playing a gig until 2 a.m. and loading out and getting back to my house at 3 a.m. and with small children. That sounds impossible. And I've seen in different bands, my bandmates, they disappear when they go have children. And then usually when the kids are around 4 years old, the mom's like, okay, I can get back into music because they're a little bit older. Or they just haven't come back. I've lost dear bandmates, not because it's not important to care for children, but because there's not the capacity. And I think it depends on culture, but it starts even younger. When I was younger, I saw, even just like playing music in high school, I saw male people doing whatever they needed to do, practicing all the time, taking all the time to do all the things because they didn't have to go home and do chores and take care of the house to learn how to be female. And they were always better than me, and I felt like I was always competing against that. And it just that capacity that carries through, and there absolutely is the other end of it of now there's aging parents, and there's still not that time. So I definitely felt like it. It was something that colored, the awareness of that colored my life playing music from the beginning.
I don't have kids either, so I didn't end up being the sandwich generation, but I did. It was during the pandemic. My husband is also a musician, and he performs with an artist. He's a bass player too, and he's not the boss of the band, so he couldn't control his schedule. So a lot of the caregiving fell onto my shoulders. And as a woman, I felt like, she and I just had this. She was the cutest little Jewish lady from Brooklyn. She was so sweet. So for 4 years, I took care of her and tried to do gigs at the same time. And, they say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to do elder care if you don't have Medicaid and you don't have, a lot of money to bring professional caregivers in. And so I had friends that came over, and she was pretty easy to take care of for the most part. But I mean, I really needed my friends to come and help me out, and I, help them out a little bit with a little gas money or something. But they stepped forward, and as far as like childcare, I had the opportunity to hang out with the late great Candy Kane, a blues artist. And she would tell stories about bringing her son along on tour and bringing him to shows, and that, like, the sound guy would take care of the kid, and then, maybe the waitress has some time to help out and make sure he gets a sandwich or something, and the kid had a really interesting upbringing. That's a fact. But that's easier said than done. So, yeah.
I think that wherever we as women are, we're expected to be caregivers at the drop of a hat, anytime, night or day. I think about us as, whether we have given birth or not, we think in a different way. The way we're created, the way we're wired, we think about the infant, what the infant needs. We have this point of reference for the infant. And we think about the in the moment, and we reference that to what we need going forward. So we are always, in my mind, thinking on 3 tracks: the past to reference, the present to function because of the reference of the past, and having to move ahead in the future and anticipate. And so because that oftentimes comes to us naturally, we are looked to for this talent and this comfort. There is this built-in confidence. Oh, if she's a woman, she can do it. She can handle, she can multitask. And that gets to be burdensome when you're focused on trying to do something that's a part of your heart, something that you really want to pour your artistic energy into. So, and I think that just kind of crosses all platforms of where we are in life.
I'm glad you said that, Marcia, about the burden, because I was thinking about burnout. I was just, I don't have kids, but I was thinking about not only, like, women struggle with the same things that all musicians or all people in the music industry struggle with. There's a lot of struggles in the music industry, but there's also this extra layer of burden, trying to get in the door, trying to take care of the people around them, and trying to just working extra hard to get to the same place that their male counterparts are easily into. And that one statistic, by the way, of 95% audio industry, it's pretty similar in a lot of other areas of the music industry, 90+%. And I guess when I think about I think about like the extra sort of, how do I say this? I think that we have a lot of labor put on us to deal with the things that the men around us, I think, that are succeeding and also not, that are gatekeeping, and that don't, I hear a lot of men lately say, like, I've had a couple men in my recent past saying, "Hey, if I say something you don't like, just slap me or something," and I'm like, okay, that's cute, but what I really want to say is, how about you just don't say that thing, And so I guess that's my example of what I'm trying to say is, like, I think that women need to support each other. We need to care for each other in the music industry. We cannot be isolated even as independent businesses, right? Because we are businesses. We're all freelance, for the most part. If you're a venue operator, that might be different. But I still think there's a lot of isolation in the music industry. So caring for each other, having that extra burden of having to, like, deal with the things that, the barriers that we have put in front of us can be a lot. So there's more I wanted to say, and I'm not getting there. But I think there's a point about the caretaking, about of just taking care of each other, and also, like, having to deal with more emotional burden and working harder to get where we need to be. We have just a lot more to get through and to deal with. So anyway.
Yeah, these are all, and thanks to the audience for letting us get dark first, because, it was important to me that we just kind of, like, talk about this stuff and remind everyone that in my opinion, things haven't changed much. They've changed some, and in the ways that they've changed to the positive, there are other things that have kind of changed to the negative for all of us, for every gender in music, and it can just be harder sometimes for women. But now I'd love for us to shift and talk a little bit about ways that you personally have been able to juggle and make this work. And I do want to share that, as we stand in these meetings every month, when I talk to other women musicians, we end up talking about how many jobs are you doing to make this work. The better my band gets, the more I'm like, oh, how am I going to make a living now? Because my band's doing so great, and I have all this stuff to do with my day work. And I'm really fortunate to get to do nonprofit work. But maybe we could just talk a little bit about the ways that you've been able to create a life that lets you create. And I'm thinking about people in the audience like my friend Amanda, who drug a child all over the country in an ice cream truck, to be a musician. But there are all these ways that we figure it out. For me, one of the ways I figured it out is I have a lot of power in my band, even though my band has men in it. And they're really, really great about letting me be the center of their universe. There's a balance of power when I have a little more power. Do you see what I mean? So why don't we go this direction and just talk a little bit about strategies. And in the audience, if you would begin to think about your questions, we're going to move into that after in just a little bit. So be thinking of your questions.
So I'm sorry, could you clarify a little bit?
Give me your strategies for being awesome and staying sane. Like, how have you managed to juggle being a musician? Are there any people in here who consider music to be their only job? Awesome. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that I'm not unique, as you were saying, as you had described, and as all of these bios that we've read tonight have described. I think being part of the music industry means you have a lot of jobs. I've learned this term recently. I did not know what this meant until recently, but a polymath. We're all polymaths. Which means we all have different skills we have very different skills, a wide variety of different skills, and I'd like to acknowledge that. I've been actually thinking about how to connect musicians not only for their musical skills, but for their other skills, and how we can support each other through the other work we're doing. And I think that's important because that's like what makes us a whole person, to do all these different things. Because, you know, I've never only worked in music. Don't know that I've ever made more than $10,000 a year in music. I've definitely spent more than $10,000 a year on music. I have 2 tribute bands. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I started Night Owl because when I first got to Portland 18 years ago, I just started to like play with mostly women and queer people, and I realized that I really enjoyed that, and it was like such a. I remember the first time I played with an all-woman group. I had a band called the Vulva Underground. It was a tribute band. We did like one-off tribute bands or tribute shows. And the first rehearsal we played a song together, and we just looked around, and there was just this amazing energy in the room, and we were just like, "This is awesome! Like we're all rocking out together. Like, when do we get to do this?" And I think that I really encourage women to hire each other through Night Owl. That's something that we talk about. You have to hire each other, and I always include, by the way. When I say women, I'm including trans women, and I'm including non-binary people as well, because I think that we all experience similar things. We have a lot of the same issues that we deal with, and they're all connected to. And I'm going to say this: it's a bell hooks thing that Catherine always says, but like this is all a product of the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. I think I'm forgetting one term in there. Imperialist. That's what I thought. It just trickles down into the music industry and the problems that happen there. So I guess I started Night Owl to deal with this, to talk about it, to not just talk about it. We have discussions. I interview people that are more sort of, for lack of a better term, DIY. When you don't see yourself somewhere, I say this a lot. You make something for yourself. You make your own place. And that's what a lot of the people at Night Owl do. That's a lot of the people I know, a lot of the women and trans people I know. We make our own thing because we have to have that representation and stuff. So that's part of surviving in the music industry. It's also doing a million things. And also being, okay with having one little stable thing that just kind of makes me not go crazy and having to find every single job all the time. So anyway, I've talked a lot. Here you go, Marcia.
I sat on the PDX Jazz Board for 8 years as the only black woman. That was an experience. You learn how to help them to hear what it is you're trying to convey. You'll hear responses like, "Oh, that's in the weeds. We don't have to deal with that." And you're trying to keep your blood pressure down. But you see things and you observe things that could sabotage a smooth operation. And so there is a lot of concentration on how you try to extract information that's not perceived as being quote unquote pushy or a pain or a nuisance. To be able to convey your thought, sometimes you have to use what I describe as the outpatient tone that helps them to listen to the logic of what it is you're trying to say. And then as a Black woman, that's factored in as well. It's this built-in notion that, well, you really can't know all that much. And that makes it an uphill struggle. But you believe in what you're doing. And you know that your thinking is clear and it's on the right path. And it's going to yield the best, most positive result across the board. So you become creative in the way you communicate so that it's being heard without being perceived as you're trying to be the boss. So it's a lot of psychological navigation that has to take place. And, you know, you come away from what should have been a simple meeting that you feel the stress, you feel exhausted, because you really can't say what you want to say the way you want to say it, because it'll be totally dismissed, including you out the door. So I just find that it has challenged me and has helped me to grow in ways of being able to communicate so that folks will hear and process the message that I'm trying to share. And that's across the board.
I gotta say, I gotta crosstalk a little bit. That's like a 12-step thing. That's NA beer, by the way, for any of my friends out there.
Love it.
It breaks my heart that you've had that experience and that you've had to navigate that way and mitigate your speech in that way. And I've heard other women say that because that hasn't been my experience, because I'm the boss and I am bossy, and I don't mind the word bossy, and I do just tell people what to do and put that over there, and you show up at this time. And, you know, that's something that has, now that I'm in my 50s, that's something that I feel more comfortable being able to do, because I don't know if I had felt like I had to. I know we're getting off the topic from the original question, but this is a good discussion. I don't know if I had to finesse, but I wasn't dealing with a board. I've mostly been the band leader, and but I think in the past there's been like musical questions. Like now I feel like I think these things come with age too. I feel like if a keyboard player is playing too much, I can lean over to him and say, "Stop playing too much." You know, I could do that now. And maybe 25 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, I'd be like, what do I say and how do I say it, you know? And I think, a lot of women, we, don't necessarily feel so comfortable being that bold. And I'm glad that is something that has come over time. But, to talk about how do you navigate and how do you get things done, music has been my job. Like I said, I was in elder care. I had friends helping me with that. And then just before she passed away, I fell and crushed my leg. So I'm full of pins and everything. And now I need my friends to help me, and I need my bandmates to help me. I can't carry my own gear. I've carried my own gear since I was, a teenager. I've put big cabinets in the back seat of my Toyota Corolla when I was young, you know. So now I really have to, as a disabled person now, I really have to navigate needing assistance and being able to communicate my needs. I'm very glad my mother was disabled. And so I'm really glad I had the experience of being around her and how sometimes she was a little passive aggressive, you know. That table would look better over there, don't you think? You know, she was a little more like that. But yeah, and I've had help from family, and I've had help from my friends, and I really couldn't do this. And you know, of course, even just the support from the audience, where I just, you know, you walk in the door and they say, I mean, I walked in here and people are just like, can I get you something? Is there anything you need? It's great. It's really great. So there's that community that you're talking about. Yeah.
I feel like building on all of this. I have just decided to lean into being the boss because that is better. That gets you it's a little easier. But there's like an interesting power because I'm never the band leader. I'm in the rhythm section, but rehearsals at my house. I booked the gig. I'm the one paying you. I'm doing all of the taxes for the band. So like I'm still in charge, but not in charge, not up front. So I feel like that's a way that I prefer to navigate some things. But I feel like somewhere in this, I was like, Renee, you said like the thing that you want to be doing. I feel like there's been so many times when you have to lean into like, if I love something, if I love this really crazy music from northeastern Brazil that nobody else has ever heard of, there's a good chance that actually somebody else does love it too. And that has been how I have, like, the thing was missing. The thing that I love was missing. It didn't exist, so I just decided to start playing it. And then I found other people who really liked it. And then before I know it, there's like an entire community that has built around it. And I think that's really beautiful. And like trusting that like that thing that I love, somebody else is gonna love too, has gotten me really far. And then I feel like there's this other, like we've been talking about like work and what do you do and how do you make money playing music and I feel like I worked my job so that I could have money to play music, not that the music was, like music was like, it would pay for cool stuff. Like I could go to the concerts I wanted to go to, or I could buy the gear that I wanted to buy, but like I had to have a job. And I think the best times for me was working 30 hours a week. That's the sweet spot, because I was in 3 bands and I was still able to cover rent and I was having so much fun. And that like Fridays off, that's great. Like you could rehearse on Thursday night, you could do multiple gigs, like that really worked. And I think the more that I work in my job, the less creative I am and the less time I have for that. So there's like a clear inverse for me. But I still have to pay the bills. So there has to be kind of like a balance there.
Yeah, if only healthcare were widely available. I mean, I just think so many of us could manage it because 30 hours is sweet. All right, well, let's go ahead and open up for some questions, and then I also want to hold space for after Q&A. I would like for each of us to share any ongoing initiative that you have right now. I know Lisa has something coming up in 2 days. 2 days, but just be ready because I would love for us to just share out what's available to the community to support that you're working on. Do we have any questions? No pressure, but we need questions. Yes.
How do you organize multiple streams of income?
How do you?
Doing taxes?
I'm going to repeat it on the mic, and anybody, you can also use this mic right here if you want. So, how do you balance?
How do you balance multiple forms of income all at once?
How do you balance multiple forms of income all at once?
I will say there was a time when I was in my 20s and I was making very little money and I had a really sweet gig and it was the first time I got a 1099 and it ruined me. because I thought, I don't know. I mean, like the gig was like $2,000 or something, and I was stoked. And I thought, but I'm still like, I make so little money, I'm not going to have to pay taxes. But I didn't understand anything about self-employment income. And so that year, like I owed all this money in taxes, but I was already broke and I just like didn't understand what was going on. And a friend gave me a book on self-employment taxes and like for artists or something like that, like just like a paper book. And I read everything. And I did everything they said, which was like, I learned all of this stuff about taxes because I was like, I'm never going to be in that situation again where like literally I owe taxes and I can't pay it. So I started, like, I feel like that was that piece that Renee, you were saying about like, we're all businesses. You're all like independent contractors if you're playing music, if you're making money playing music. And so I ended up teaching myself how to like understand just how to do taxes as a self-employed person. And then I balanced that, like when I had good income, a regular job, like I kept that separate, and I kept all the records for everything that was music related. To this day, I still keep like totally separate records for all music income. And then you do both. Then you have your like, you do your regular W-2, and then like you file a Schedule SE and do your self-employment taxes. But I tracked everything. Like, did I pay another musician? Did I pay the sound guy? Did I like sound guy? Did you hear my language there? Sorry.
Yeah.
Like I would track everything, and even just like the old school like envelope method, but we don't even have receipts anymore. So like you have to figure this out on your phone or an app or something. But because I did that through my bad lesson of like having to pay taxes that I couldn't afford, I ended up being like the person who was helping my bandmates or who was like tracking things for the band, and ended up being like, oh, I have other skills. And then I thought I wanted to be a tax preparer, which sounds like so crazy, because who thinks they want to do that? And then I met other musicians who do taxes, and I was like, I'm not crazy. Mel Brown does taxes. And he told me the story that he was on the road with Diana Ross, and somebody had to do manage the bills, and he had the brain for it. And I was like, yes, this is exactly it. I totally get it. Which is just so weird. But also, I've heard from other people who do taxes. Like if you're an actual tax preparer, you could also get lots of time to tour with your band because taxes are really seasonal. But I think that there's just like not being afraid of it, like learning that like it's just empowerment, and it's just like tracking and making sure that you know what you can write off and like what you need to be tracking. And then I ended up leaning into like that sort of administration piece, and now I'm basically an arts administrator and a musician, but because of that one gig. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't mind saying, I'm old school and I am the envelope stuffer. But now, like ASCAP, Sound Exchange, those other sources of income, even, CD Baby, because I release a lot of music through CD Baby, they do direct deposit now. But, your bank keeps your records. I am really sloppy at my record keeping. And so for those of you who are sloppy, I just take, that month before to just start gathering things. And I know, well, I put some things on this credit card, and I know I put some things on that credit card. You just go through the records, there's some records that are electronic, some of them are paper, and you stuff them. And it's hard sometimes. It's like, you're really busy, especially if you are the band leader, and you're really busy, and you're dealing with merch, and you're dealing with paying everybody, and at the end of the night, the club owner comes in, hands you a big wad of cash, and then you just go make piles in the office or something like that, and you literally have to write that stuff down, or you could put it in a document on your phone or something like that. So the main thing is, whether it's haphazard, whether you're really meticulous about it, just make sure that those records are there for you to access come March. you know. So, I'm not going to sit there with a spreadsheet and write everything down, every single time. But I know that I can gather that information. And I also, Yahoo email will let you save like 10,000 emails. And I just save all my emails. If I want to know how much I got paid for a gig or something, I can go look that person's name up and find out how much I got paid for that gig 6 years ago. So, because I didn't delete the email.
Nice.
And my husband will laugh at me for that.
Anybody have another question? Sherry.
So I know we talked about a little bit of the dark stuff at the beginning, but I think it is important as women to talk about safety as well as like both from a physical standpoint as well as emotional. And especially being in such a male-dominated industry, what have you heard? Have you had any experiences? And do you know of any like resources we should be aware of?
Did everybody hear the question? All right, so the question is about physical and emotional safety for women and resources. Maybe share an example of whether you've experienced any lapses in safety and then what kind of resources. Is that accurate?
Okay. Well, I would say that there comes a point where you shed the reservations about laying it on the line when you're being ignored or belittled. And one example I can give you is during PDX Jazz, my time there was a poster that was being designed, and there were choices about the artwork, et cetera, and so on. And one of the selections, now I have to say, to give you some context, that I am the proud daughter of parents from the Harlem Renaissance. And the music that I heard from my mother's womb was jazz. My dad had a beautiful voice, he sang, and my mother was a tap dancer. She was in the first integrated musical on Broadway, Swingin' the Dream. And so I know about the music, I know the culture, I know the history. And so I said, one particular image, I said, this isn't an appropriate image. Well, why not? I said, well, because it is steeped in Jim Crow. And the minute anybody looks at that has half a brain will know where it came from. You don't want to put that up there, that Sambo, quote unquote, image. And so it was met with, And when the poster came out, just before the festival, I saw that the image was there. And that was a slap in the face, a kick in the rear end. And I said, I was asked at the time by the artistic director, well, do you like the poster? And I said, everything works except this image. I said, this is insulting. I said, you have a woman that's going to be performing in our festival that is par excellence on a violin. She's a black woman from the South. Why would you put that image on our poster? That's insulting. And there was this sobering expression because he wasn't involved with the final copy, and he said, take the posters down. And I felt vindicated because he said, I don't care. And they said, well, we can't do that because, we printed up X amount of it. He said, I don't care, take it down. And so there's a certain amount of gratification that when you know you're on solid ground, you know you're saying the right thing for the right reason, there really is a stance that you need to take, because you've got to draw a line. You can't say, okay, well, you're the guy, and so I've got to take a step back. No, now you're messing with history, and that doesn't fly, especially when you're promoting an art form that was born from the Black American experience. But I think it's, Sherry, important to have a resource or resources that you can go to if you don't feel the confidence to be able to stand up for your position. And if you're the one that's getting kind of bantered about or ignored and insulted, that's important. My resource happens to be my husband. He'll go to bat for me anytime, anywhere. He's someone who has served this country at the highest levels as a spy master with the CIA. And his commitment to his country, and he did so, I don't know if you know what a spy master does, but he goes into another country, he assesses the people there, he recruits them to give him information for the security of the United States of America. His reports go straight to the president. Unlike the military, who go in after their people, even if they're dead, if he was discovered in what he was doing, the government says, I don't know who he is. I never knew him. So he was in a position where he was supporting the country on thin ice for the country's safety, and it takes a lot to be able to keep this country safe. So I have a resource in him, because he'll go up against anybody for me.
Can somebody, you're so awesome, Marcia. Could anyone on the panel just address alcohol, because it's such a huge part of being a performing musician, and Sherry brought up physical safety, and just if anybody wants to tackle that one. I mean, sobriety's been my protector in a big way.
I'll go. I've got 24 years of sobriety now.
Nice.
I got started real young. I was one of those Drew Barrymore drunks, and it's not as bad as it used to be, but over-serving is a problem. And it used to be a real problem. And they overserve the musicians. It's the end of the night. Somebody's like, buy the whole band around. That's unsafe because they're sending people out the door. And when you're plying diminutive people, as often many women are, with the same amount of drinks that the big tough guy at the end of the bar, there's another level, lack of safety. But also the patrons. It hasn't happened in a long while, but there were times when I did feel unsafe in the parking lot getting to my car. So, like I said, it's a problem, but and now I'm the observer of that problem rather than a participant in that problem. But yeah, it's not as bad as it used to be. Thank goodness.
Hi, sorry, I always have to do this. My name's Catherine. This is definitely not a great anxiety day for me, so I'm just going to breathe through it. My blood pressure right now. I want to make six figures. I want to have, in other words, a middle income in the city of Portland, working exclusively as a performer, not supplementing my work with anything else. So I wanted to ask, what are the realistic pathways in which I don't have to be exceptional? I can just be a musician and I can get to that level of income and that level of participation in society. I think the hard mode of that question would be that wherever the income is coming from is not involved in any way in the global military industrial complex or in genocide around the world that the United States is committing. And then I think the other part of my question is, given how you respond to that, what should Music Portland be advocating for? Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to go first?
Catherine asks the easy questions. I don't know how to make six figures, so I don't know if any of us do, especially without with the I guess the parameters that you're saying, of course. What I can kind of say, I guess what I kind of dream of is that there's not so much top-down infrastructure in so many music industry businesses that are benefiting the CEOs, and that there are more egalitarian businesses in the music industry where it's not so hierarchical, and that while we're all individual businesses, as I was mentioning before, that we are supportive of each other and not, despite the real competition that's there. I also think, so it's not just that, but like knowing who the other women and trans and non-binary people that are needing support, knowing those people really well, and knowing that we all are trying to go in this really difficult industry that needs to change systemically. I think we just need to acknowledge that I'm not saying that money isn't there, but I don't know that it's there ethically. And I think there are much better ways to build the music industry in a way that works for all of us, and where we can come up together. And so while artists are struggling alone to get a measly Spotify payout, or to do gigs that haven't changed their pay since the 80s, I think it's time that we get smart and we honestly unionize is a big thing. And I just joined the Musicians Union, by the way. Please talk to me if you want to join. Like it's actually something you really should do. We need to, as a freelance artist, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, talk to me, and if you have reservations about it, talk to me, because I have reasons to assuage those reservations or whatever. So, anyway, I guess I'm just saying, like, I don't know, but I will say, like, I think you're doing a lot of the right things, Catherine. I know you well enough that, like, Catherine shows up to a lot of like business meetings, like, or business workshops and stuff. So understand that you are a business as an artist. There's more to it than just showing up and playing gigs. If you're just playing gigs, you're never going to make $100,000 a year or more. So anyway, I could say a lot more. I know Kate has a question. Is that for me?
I just wanted to bring forth, if he's willing, board member Dick Huey over here has worked with a lot of people outside of Portland who are making $100,000 a year. And Dick, I was wondering if you could sort of talk about your very deep experience in people's careers going into that level of and beyond, how you see them organizing their career as a business. I mean, you've been in that world for a long time. Because it's hard, like, as you know, but Portland is a unique place, and we have this wonderful music industry, but in terms of a market having enough money to flow through to give all of us $100,000 a year. It might not be that realistic. So we have to tour, we have to play outside of Portland. There's a lot of things that have to happen. And which changes, like we have to be realistic about what we expect from our market. And I just feel like you have a unique perspective. Would you be willing to share some of that?
You put me on the spot in a women's panel, which, yeah, let me turn around the other way. I have 3 daughters. This has been a really interesting panel to listen to. I've worked in music for 30 years, and I guess maybe the best way to reframe what Kate said is, as part of the board of Music Oregon and now Music Portland, I've been thinking a lot about how to take the experience that I had working in New York City for almost 24 years in the music industry proper, for record labels, and then with my own company, and try to extend that experience and those connections to this community. So Renee, when you talk about things like a union, for instance, I was the director of the Future of Music the Future of Music Coalition in Washington, D.C., and I ran that for 2 years. The Future of Music Coalition is deeply involved with topics related to musician health, musician organizing, policy at the Washington, D.C. level. So I don't want to hog the mic here, again, because this isn't my panel, but I think a lot of what you've been talking about today resonates with me, and what I'll be focusing on as a board member over the next 6 to 12 months is how to integrate some of this thinking into a statewide vision. Not something that's Portland-centric, includes Portland, but that is more statewide. We'll be spending a lot of time on that. So I don't know if I really answered the question or not. Maybe I didn't.
Like, in your experience, what kind of hustle did somebody have to go from $10,000 to $100,000 as a very rough, not like generic overview?
As a very rough. So I grew up in music during a time when it was possible. I mean, I managed several bands that were signed to Beggars Group, and or to Beggars Banquet specifically. And at that time, that was a viable path for making the kind of income that you're talking about. I think today it's a wildly different framework. I heard a couple people mention Sound Exchange. The music industry today is the sum of lots of different small income streams. You can't really afford to ignore any of them. I'm always surprised by how many bands are unaware, despite outreach and despite opportunity for education, how many bands are unaware of the different revenue streams that are available to them. I would say that the bands that are achieving the kind of monetary success that you're talking about are not ignoring those individual income streams, and they're also not, or they're also taking advantage of the resources that organizations like Future of Music, Music Portland are attempting to assemble for them. So I still don't think I'm answering this question very well.
I think it's great.
Was it?
It's really good.
Okay, all right. Well, let's start with that. I really want to turn it back to the panel, actually. I don't want to hog the mic here, but.
Catherine, could I add something? Thank you, Derek. What helped me to at least move from one category to another and kind of at least be moving up the ladder in terms of income was to look at my additional jobs and try to stay in the arts. And I think like for me, my career has always been in nonprofits, but if I had a different type of career, let's say I was a paralegal, I would be looking for an entertainment law firm to work for. But somehow to keep my mind and my spirit wrapped around a way to be sustainable. Second is learning how to try to help make a world where the term 6 figures is the only way to be happy and satisfied and to be able to feed myself. But to like really feel like I'm contributing to something where I don't have to be wealthy or even middle class in order to live. And those two things happening together have really helped me, and my life has changed a lot, and it's helped me have better gigs because I'm more focused on music and the arts.
Yeah, I want to talk about, thank you. I was going to kind of bounce off that where I work with an engineer. You know, I don't mix down my own records. I never really learned how to do that properly. I've never been satisfied with my skills. So I work with an engineer, and he's also a musician and a vocalist. And he said he got to the point where he decided that he wanted to be on the money-making side of the music industry because I wrote a song, it goes, everybody's making money but me. Because most of what I do is make other people money. I got the photographer to pay. I got to, I'm making CDs. I got the engineer. I got, the hired guns, as a producer. So that's most of what I do. And when it comes to my income, it's those income streams. It's, the Grammy, the Recording Academy is a good resource if you have a history of releasing albums. There's a lot of independent artists that are part of the Recording Academy and other organizations, as he was saying, and Musicians Union and networking opportunities that you have that can educate you. And there's even, tutorials and stuff online that you can find even some iffy stuff on YouTube. But I forget her name, is a music attorney that's really that she actually is suing the big AI companies that are scraping all the data. So she's pretty educational. And to me, it's like I scrape pennies off tables. That's what I do. And so I just try to I try to, at some point in the year, sit down and think about, is there a table that I did not scrape the pennies off of somewhere? And there often is, and I'm probably failing at it right now, but I'm okay. I'm fed.
I went to a conference last year, a music policy conference last year, and I think somebody said that artists are the biggest employers in the music industry. Yes. Just something to think about. Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know if this is going to be a controversial thing to say, but most of my friends are musicians, and the ones that are actually like making an income from music related things, even if they're touring and doing really awesome, they still also teach.
That's a really good point. Any other questions before we shift? Yes.
This feels like a nice segue actually between both the question there and what you all have answered that, and then when Tom stepped up. I'm in publicity and PR. I am musical. I'm a voracious consumer of music, far more than I will ever be a producer of it. And because of how I make my living as one of the many people that artists employ, and because I'm such a consumer, I have such a vested interest in seeing it continue to thrive and succeed. But also as a feminist, and as a woman in this industry, as an intersectional feminist in this industry, much of what you said, Marcia, thank you so much. My first love was the Harlem Renaissance, so man, oh man, I would talk to you for hours. But what can I and others in our industry, other women and non-binary people and men as well, do to really make sure that we are supporting artists and creating this? Because as you just said, you are our bosses. We are here as photographers, as publicists, as PR people, as marketing, as booking, as venue, because you're here. And there are a good amount of women artists and there are not in the background. In publicity, it's a little better. In the rest of it, you just said it, 5%. So what can all of us do from your perspective to be better employees and better supporters of you?
Yes, hire each other. If you're a woman, hire more women. If you're a man, hire more women. I feel like, I'm sorry. Yes, exactly.
While you're thinking,
Keep thinking.
one thing that can be really helpful, I work with a lot of nonprofits in the arts, and one of the things that can be really helpful is to provide really high quality services for a nonprofit rate so that you can kind of get in with those organizations and bring some of that talent to them, because nonprofits just are, all of them in the arts, right, Charity, are operating on a shoestring, and to be able to access, great professional services at an affordable cost, not free. Nobody's asking for it for free, or if they are, that's rare. But to just be able to give them access to those services would be awesome. Catherine and then Frank. Oh, sorry.
No, I just wanted to shout out and say, it's like when our legacy organizations are operating on such thin margins that, they're putting out a campaign about Save Opera for Portland. What's the bigger picture in the economy that we need to address here? What's our bigger picture of how we understand the economy to start with? And where that power that money represents would flow into this city.
I think what you're asking is exactly where I was going to go with this, is that is what can we be doing? Buy tickets to shows. Go see live performance. And
What do we do? You know what I mean? It's like maybe that works.
get a $5 Arts for All, right? Like, get a $5 Arts for All ticket, get a Rush ticket, go see live performance. We are all, like, I think coming out of the pandemic, like, I will tell you, I didn't realize the fear in my body to be in a venue with people didn't leave my body until 2024. Like, I went to shows all the time. It's like my favorite thing to do. It's the safe place, and all of a sudden it wasn't the safe place. So I think that there's a choice that we're all making, and that often it lives in our phones. Like, we don't go, I could watch anything, I could listen to anything on my phone at any time, and everybody in this room can do that. You could sit on your couch and watch whatever thing, you could watch it on your laptop. You don't have to interact with live music and live entertainment if you don't want to at all. And I think that other people who are better at remembering numbers than I am are going to tell you, like, every dollar that you spend at a venue is going to circulate around in the economy in a way. If you get people downtown, if you get people, like, we need to be gathering and seeing each other in numbers. Yes. That's going to do a lot more than you think, even if you can't go to every single show, or you're not buying Broadway tickets. Like, it is about us being together, experiencing music together in all of the places that we can, and counteracting the behaviors that streaming started and then we exacerbated with the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Can I also say, go ahead, yeah. Something that we talked about a lot when I was at Music Oregon is that I think businesses, other non-music businesses, need to realize how much music brings to the economy and how much it benefits their business. And if you invest in music and you can directly invest in artists. You can sponsor artists. If you love an artist, women or trans artists, you just do it. Like, that's like, they can help you with your brand or something like that, but I think that it can be at a small level like that. I think, but also, like, there's tourism brings in people, for concerts bring in tourism, and hotels benefit, restaurants benefit. It's billions of dollars that come into the economy in Oregon because of live music. And businesses need to realize that. People come to live here because of music, because of the music scene. And if you're Bank of America and you're trying to hire employees, I'm sure they're not going to come because they love the bank scene. So I'm just telling you, music is going to be, it really is infiltrating our lives in a way that we don't see, and it's incredibly underappreciated. And businesses need to learn that if they invest in music, it'll only come back to them. And especially, I would say, like, get to know some women artists and invest in those, invest in them, invest in that, the music that they make and stuff. So yeah.
Let's give an opportunity for one more question, and then be ready to share any event or ways that you personally can share with this audience how to support music. Oh, let's have two more questions then. You and then you. Or you and then you.
Fallen. Hi. Thank y'all for being here. One, I'd like to advertise. I also have a Women in Music meetup I started back in September. And a lot of the people that come to my meetup also go to the Night Owl meetup. Mine's a little bit less structured, a little bit more just building community. So I really appreciate everything that everyone's doing. One thing in our meetups that people really want is some sort of directory where we can support women photographers, support women, sound engineers. And I was just wondering, if there's anything like that in the works.
So I see Deb raising her hand, and Night Owl is building one too. WIPA, Women in Performing Arts is another really great one. Deb is building a directory.
Raise your hand, Deb.
I'm sorry, Performing Arts.
Yes.
Portland. Oh, it is Portland Arts. Okay, I didn't realize. Okay, Women in Portland Arts. So talk to Deb about that. But anyway, I was thinking actually, while I was in the bathroom, if that doesn't say too much, but I was just thinking about how we need to if there was a way to make all those directories cohesive, I would love to be a part of that. So, because I have a lot of ideas, and I have a lot of technical skills. I built the performer directory for Music Portland.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
So
Yeah.
I want to expand on that, and I think that needs to happen for sure, like a more cohesive one. Because I love all the different organizations; they're all there for their own functions, but I think having one directory would be really powerful. So.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Karen, real quick.
Yeah, and actually, she mostly asked or said what I was going to say, but also I just wanted to say that in my genre, it seems like the women-led bands tend to have lower attendance. Mm-hmm. I would love for that to change. I would love for us to support one another and bring our friends and all of that. But then I also, wanted to say, because I definitely feel so often shut out of conversations or get the patronizing comments from men, and just having that community of female performers, non-binary, transgenders as well. So yeah, I was gonna ask about other ways to connect. Night Owl sounds really fantastic, but yeah.
And WIPA, too. WIPA, you should definitely hook up with Deb.
Absolutely, so that was gonna be my question, so she kind of.
Do you want me to start in what Night Owl, what I'm offering?
Yeah,
Sure.
we'll just go down real quick
Cool.
and do a lightning round to let you know what's happening so that people can support.
So Night Owl is every second Tuesday at Artichoke Music, 6:30 to 9 p.m. Having worked at Music Portland, it kind of was built a little bit off of a First Monday, a little bit vibe. I usually interview somebody at the beginning. This time I'm interviewing someone named Erin Bloom, who owns Queen Jane Studios, and she is also a polymath and does a lot of different things, but she runs a venue out of her home, which is really cool. So I'd love to hear from people who are doing a lot of things themselves and changing those. So Night Owl, 6:30, 9 p.m., Tuesday the 14th at Artichoke Music.
Let's see. There's a lot. Yeah. And what date is that? Okay, on June 6th, Siren Nation will have the Dolly Parton Hoot Night. And this will be the 20th year that Siren Nation is going to be putting this on for Dolly Parton. So you'll want to put that on your calendar. As Vice President of Montevilla Jazz in May, we're having our reveal party on who our lineup is that's going to be for our festival in September. So there'll be a reception for that, and that'll be fun, and it'll be at the Get Down. And I have my radio program on alternate Wednesdays, Jazz Lives on KBOO Community Radio, where I've been for 10 years now. And it's 8 minutes past noon until 2 o'clock. Yeah, well, because there's a headline news in Spanish. So just want to let you know that, because sometimes people tune in and say, oh, this isn't the right. Well, yeah, no, it is. Hang on. So that going on. And I would just say also, it's so important for us to keep in mind that it's our responsibility to build bridges, to make connections, to exchange contact information. We may not be able to attend all the things that are going on, because we have a rich community of performing arts here, but to just keep in touch and send out emails to your friends and family members and your community in the arts, because when the words fail, always music speaks. So
I'll use both of them. No. This one actually sounds really good, especially when you're speaking on it. Oh my gosh, your speaking voice is amazing. On Wednesday night, Lisa Mann's Northwestern All-Stars. Yes, that is a mouthful. Lisa Mann's Northwestern All-Stars featuring Terry O'Dobby will be at the Alberta Rose Theater. And LaRonda Steele is going to perform an opening set with her husband, an intimate set with Mark Steele. And then, the singer, her name is Terry O'Dobby. She's from the Bay Area, and she is a soul goddess in my book. And I just want the whole world to hear this woman sing live in such a venue. So I'm trying to, promote the heck out of that. Jimmy Bott is on the drums. He's a very well-known blues drummer. Jason Thomas on guitar, and King Louis Payne. You know King Louis Payne. He'll be there playing the organ. I'll be playing the bass. And I will be at the Blue Diamond on May 9th with my trio. So I want to thank y'all for supporting different genres and supporting blues, supporting jazz, supporting rock and roll. And you can find out more at lisamannmusic.com.
Okay, I'm going to put my City of Portland hat on and say totally different things. One, the Office of Arts and Culture is partnering with NEVA to put out a State of Live Portland report. I know they did the State of Live National and Oregon. I swear it's any day now. Hopefully it's by the end of May we will have this report out, and I think it is something that we'll be able to use in our advocacy efforts to talk about how important the music economy is in Portland to our larger economy. So that's thing one, look for that. Thing two, the Office of Arts and Culture manages grant-making programs for nonprofit arts organizations. I know most folks in here are not nonprofit arts organizations, but if you're part of one, if you work for one, please apply for our next round of grants that will open in July. And then we have grant-making partners. We work with the Regional Arts and Culture Council, Friends of IFCC, and Music Oregon to do small grants, like individual grants, including for musicians, independent working musicians. And I think most of those are going to be announced July, August. I don't know if we've got the dates on those.
Right. We're going to open our application in August for independent musicians, and then it'll roll out through to the end of the year.
Perfect. So there's resources, and I think that's something we didn't say earlier is like the music industry is changing, and it might be time to start looking at grant writing and the way that other artists and other industries do that as part of their income. So wild and crazy idea. think about it, apply to a small project grant through Music Oregon or Regional Arts and Culture Council or Friends of 5cc.
Awesome. Let's give a big round of applause for this great panel. Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming. I really believe that we can use this to seed our activities in the future, and that's what Music Portland is trying to do. I want to just share with you that next month, our First Monday event will be on the first Monday at the Offbeat. And we're going to be focused on all ages music. Come see, Andre Middleton is going to moderate that panel. We're going to have all ages musicians, a couple of parents, and we're going to talk about that entire sector. And it's going to be really, really great. So thank you so much. Make sure that you join our mailing list so you can keep up with what we're doing. Thank you.